Welcome to The Switch, not another podcast. The Switch is a collaboration between Baseload Capital and DNB, aiming to accelerate the green transition. We want our podcast to be a central hub for knowledge exchange within the fields of renewables and green transition. Hosted by Kristina Hagström-Ilevska and produced by Emil and Jacob.
Welcome back to a new episode of The Switch, not another podcast. We are happy to have you back again, and we are looking forward to today's episode where we have a special guest with us today. We always have the special guest, but I know that this one is a little bit of a heart passion question for you because it's a motorcycle.
It is.
Emil.
Yeah, it is. I've been watching them really closely. It's a cool company and a cool lifestyle, maybe.
It's kind of interesting because you, as a passionate motorcycle driver, I'm wondering what can make you actually do the switch to a cake, which is a completely different thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing that I'm doing now with my short rides outside of the city, and commuting. But my thing is that I want to be able to go as far as I want to.
What would make you, Jacob, to buy? I mean, you're not the motorcycle guy, or you're not even... What would make you buy and invest in a cake?
Right. I think that I'm the easiest of customers for cake because I was raised in the city. I love urban life. So I would just use it just to go from point A to point B. I don't have the same needs as our friend Emil has.
So you're an easy customer then?
I believe so, yeah.
With no further ado, we have something coming up. Check out today's guest.
He is the founder and CEO of Cake, the Swedish premium electric motorcycle company. He has a long background as an entrepreneur, promoter, strategist within industrial design and communication, covering all segments of the value chain when being responsible for developing more than 2,000 customer products. Cake combines all of his experience with interests that matter to him and that he's passionate about. Let's give a warm Switch welcome to Stefan Ytterborn.
I'm so happy to have Stefan Ytterborn from Cake here so that we can really go into this lifestyle, being cool question about motorcycles. Are you ready for a good conversation?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Listen, when we talked before this, you said something that really caught my attention. You said that there is no use launching a product if it's not better than the competition.
True, and that's my idea about things, and that's what I know, because to be perfectly honest, if I was asked to launch a product that was, somewhere in the middle of the market, with the aspect of growing market shares, I wouldn't know where to turn. So this is, I have a strong value-oriented, commitment to improve and innovate, and in that sense, that's what it is.
Because then we need to actually say, in that case, that Cake is better than the competition? I
would say that my ambition is that. Then it's up to the market to judge. But I would never, ever do anything unless I thought I had the ability to actually exceed competition. So
what do you think is actually the unique selling point with Cake? What do you think is what makes it?
Wow, that's a long story. I'm going to bore you, but I think that...
Don't worry, we have the bullshit bottom here.
All right,
so
okay. No, but in general, I think that looking at what we're doing from a few different angles, I'd say that one of the most important aspects is for us to inspire towards, zero emission by combining excitement with responsibility and relevancy. And how do we do that? Well, my general take on sustainability is that the biggest enemy to sustainability is actually our pace of consumption. we buy crap, too much crap that ends up being garbage before we know it. And in this sense, my key pillars are make sure that there's purpose, innovation, performance, and physical quality for us to be able to extend life cycles. And to achieve all of those aspects, you need to exceed competition because, unless you bring better innovation, unless you bring better performance, or unless you bring better, physical quality, we wouldn't try and do it. So that's my basic take on it.
So in this case, if we look at the cake as a product, in a sense, it's often compared to different other, people are talking and comparing it to the Tesla. Is cake the new Tesla?
I would say that no. I mean, the fact that we're sharing, the idea of using electric drivetrains is one thing. But I would say that there's certain ways where there is a large discrepancy between what the automotive industry does in general and what we do. And Tesla is definitely an automotive-oriented company making cars for guys in a very conservative way.
Cars for guys?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How come? I need to...
No, but it's the kind of male macho attitude in terms of how to develop something that has that automotive car typology. I think that looking at whether it's a Tesla or something else, I think that the automotive industry in general is very conservative. Whether it's a combustion engine inside or an electric drivetrain, actually.
Oh, I think that's a good one, Stefan. I think we should actually call bullshit on the automotive industry.
Yeah, I would, I don't want to be too cocky. We have wonderful collaborations with the automotive industry as well, so I need to be a bit humble here. But I think that I saw this amazing image a few days ago there were I think like 40 different car models from different brands, and they were extremely identical. And I think there's this fear in the market, or from the industry, the automotive industry, that let's not surprise the market, beyond what they're ready to accept, because the risk is so high. And of course, there's tons of investment associated to that industry. But I think there's this fragile kind of mindset, which is like, oof, let's be careful. Let's not go too far because we might miss out on that investment. So I think that the automotive industry in general is a bit slow in terms of developing new.
Interesting. I would like to take us back to this. In your history, you developed the brand POC.
Yeah.
And at one time, it was really not cool. When I was young, it was not cool to have a helmet. No. But if I would go out in a ski slope today, people would look at me in a bad way and say like, oh, are you not wearing a helmet today? Yeah. You actually made this cool. And if you look at it, what you just said with automotives and like doing something different, do you feel that you're doing this with cake today?
Absolutely. I think that and not because we're pretentious about it. I think that we have the benefit of not being a part of the traditional motorcycling culture. We're not motorcyclists. Of course, we have brilliant minds within the company. They know everything.
I just have to stop you there. You said you're not motorcycles.
No. I'm the kind of guy who would go like, leave me alone. If there's a motorcycle in the street passing by, loud and noisy, I'm like, leave me alone, don't disturb me, I hate you. So in that sense, there was never any romancing about making two-wheel motorized vehicles on my side. I've become a passionate motorcycling guy, riding electric bikes, and before I even knew, before I even thought about potentially starting a motorcycling business, I was just by passion buying these different motorcycles, all electric, and just got stoked. And the feeling is amazing. And of course, I needed to understand what the combustion motorbike was as well. So I went, spent a lot of time learning to ride, combustion engine motorbikes too, to be relevant in whatever we were doing. But in general, what we're doing is establishing a category of motorbikes that are not kind of an extension of what the combustion format has been about. It's about optimizing the chassis and the electric drivetrain to bring in a category of new experience or a new experience product-wise when it comes to how an electric drivetrain works best.
Mm-hmm.
And that also comes with a number of, do's and don'ts. Like what we can see in the market is that those companies that have that motorcycling combustion engine background, they're extremely limited in a number of ways, which is like, you can't do that, you can't do that, and so forth. And they end up looking like traditional combustion engine motorbikes in the end anyways. But I mean, it's a totally different story here. There's no gasoline needed. There's a reason why the combustion engine motorbike looks like the way it does in terms of geometry and sizing and kinematics. And this is extremely different. So in that sense, not deliberately trying to make different, but again, optimizing the combination of the chassis and the electric drivetrain automatically has the consequence in something that appears differently.
Because it's quite interesting. I'm going to pull in you here, Emil, because I know that you are a passionate motorcycle driver.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
That's correct.
But you are actually thinking about switching to Cake.
Yeah.
So what makes you? I mean, you have a lifestyle. You like motorcycle. What makes you switch?
Me and my father had talked a lot about like Cake and electric motorcycles in general. But I'm curious to know about when the long traveler Cake version is coming, so I can switch.
Yeah.
So you have him very close.
No, but it's lovely to hear this, because I need to admit that when we first launched Cake back in Denver in 2018 at the show named OR, Outdoor Retailer, I was a little shy to address the motorcycling community, because it was like, they're just going to think that this is stupid with electric and all that. But the beautiful thing is that guys like yourself are actually, becoming Cake fans.
Of course.
I'd say at this point we have potentially 35-40% previous motorcyclists, buying our products, which is something that I was not, potentially I was hoping for it, but I didn't expect it. So that's nice. When it comes to the long haul aspect of things, we need to be honest about what we can actually provide to the market. I mean, our perfect, the sweet spot in terms of distance is someone who'd be commuting like 50 k's away from wherever they work and getting back home again, or for leisure rides between 3 hours and 5 hours, and then you need to recharge or change batteries. So, but what really interests me is why the traditional combustion engine motorbike companies like that would promote the idea of long haul touring and all that wouldn't be doing hybrids, because just putting an electric motor in the front wheel of a big bike like that, they'd be perfectly right in any city or urban situation, going electric and then needing the gasoline to get to Munich or to Barcelona, wherever. So it's around the corner. Someone will pop up with a product like that. It's not going to be Cake, but you'll get the product.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Actually, I noticed that. There's always like what comes first, in a sense. Did you inspire the motorcycle industry or the opposite? Because now I saw that even Harley actually came with an electric.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. I'm not the one to judge whether we have, succeeded or not, but trying to subjectively analyze what the situation is as of now, I would say that there's not a single boardroom around the world within the motorcycling companies that wouldn't be discussing Cake. We know that we have the eyes on us from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that what we've done is that we have accelerated the perspective on what the electric motorcycling space may become.
And as a Swede, I must say that makes me very proud that a Swedish company like Cake can actually challenge the industry in all. It's amazing.
Now we need to succeed with the business as well. But so far, in terms of inspiration, I think that we've been successful.
I think that many of the people who are listening or watching this episode, investors or actually people that are looking into startups and want entrepreneurs, if you would say something like, with this like journey that you have done, you've done it a couple of times. I mean, and Cake is the most recent, but what would be like your advice to them in order to like really shake things up in the industry they want to go in?
The entrepreneurs or the investors?
Let's start with the entrepreneurs.
I think that my basic, I hate, advice, because it's like everything is different from one people, from one person to another. I would say that be honest to yourself. Dig into any, idea and direction that you want to pursue. Be patient. Spend time with that idea. Start criticizing it. Identify the pros, the cons, the opportunities, the challenges, and be ready to kill some of your ideas. Because if you're honest to yourself, you'll get to a point where you realize that this is not going to work, while other ideas kind of survive. And in the end, there's this idea where you're like 100% committed. You've been honest to yourself. It took some time. But when you can feel the goosebumps all over your body, it's like there's nothing that can stop you. And that's what you need to wait for, patiently. And
you need to wait for the goosebump situation.
Wait for the goosebumps, because when they come, there's nothing that can stop you. And it's like when you meet with people, you need to develop, and I think that I'm developing my arguments and rhetorics on a daily basis, but being able to define your idea and explain what you're doing is something that you need to work on. But in the end, remember that there's no one out there who's been thinking more about your idea or concept than yourself. So not claiming that you'd be smarter than anyone else, you can always, with self-confidence, realize that whatever criticism you're getting or whatever questions or how you're being potentially questioned, take it with, bring it on and learn from it, but don't let that stop you, because you know better.
I love that. I think that that's a fire speech that many of the people, entrepreneurs out there should actually listen to, because I can only think about myself or the people that I've been meeting, because there are so many hurdles before you actually there. Can I ask you, before you actually launched Cake, how long did you dwell on the idea before?
Well, I'd say that it was potentially, and I'm still dwelling, and this is it never ends. It's not like this is what I'm going to do, and then you're done with it. I mean, there was a time 100 years ago when you could actually capitalize on an innovation like Tetra Pak or something that, you establish a patent and then you're home safe. So to your question, how long? I think that I started the Cake journey by, getting these bikes, having, riding them myself, having friends riding them, being inspired by, the perception, from beginners to professionals, realizing that this is going to flip the motorcycling space upside down. It's something that will be promoted because we need to, in terms of the transition in transportation, and there was potentially going to be a huge market, and everything came together, and I got to the point where I'm like, I got to do this. So I started Cake, operationally during fall in 2016. It's 5 years ago. We've been in the market since 2018. So I'd say that it had probably been going on as a process within myself for a couple of years before I started. And I've been thinking about the same topic somehow, and I had it as my main passion since probably 2014 or something. So I've been in this cake making
funnel,
since 2014, and that's 8 years.
That's amazing, because you kind of look at the journey of Cake and you think about this is where they started, but actually the process is so much longer in a sense as well.
Yeah, and in the beginning, again, it's not a business. It's like, this is interesting. And then, and this is something that I also would, suggest. Speaking about entrepreneurs, it's like, do stuff where you have a passion, because your ability to actually digest information is going to be, so much better compared to something where you feel like, this is smart. I can potentially, become successful doing whatever. Which that's another discussion. I have a problem with that in general. But if you actually search where you have your, where you can combine hearts and brains, I'm sure that your ability to succeed is going to be, 5 times better.
Now it's time for the disruptive questions.
What kind of risk can we not afford to take when it comes to the climate?
Wow, that is tons of stuff that we need to consider. I'd say that we're in a situation which is a collective obligation, and from a number of different perspectives. It's a palette of things that need to change. And I'm really humble about the fact that we're playing a small part in this general change that needs to happen. So I would never put my chest saying, hey, look at us, we're electric and therefore we're sustainable, which is, it's one of the things that will happen. We need to reach for much, far beyond that in terms of what we're doing. Again, extending life cycles, making sure that everything we do can be reproduced or end up being a different product. And eventually, sometime down the line, when things have been, used in a number of different, functionalities, we might recycle and then, making sure that there's a true recycling process doing that. But then there's this general perspective on our, who we are as human beings. And I think that unless we all, figure out what we may bring on a personal level, and it might be tiny stuff, but that together, with the number of people that are willing to commit to this, we can actually make this change happen to the better, or that we need to do it. So again, I'd say that things change, but there's a bit of patience to this as well, because it's not going to be from one day to another. It's not black or white, but we need to make sure that we're collectively committed to, making these sacrifices and change our perspectives, and also redefining values. I mean, why do we need to go to to Hawaii or to the tropics to establish some kind of a aspire, dream about what's my perfect vacation? And this is already happening. So it's but again, it's like within the AMS society, we all need to support, and the more we are, the better the chances of succeeding.
One thing that we discussed before that, you have said in other interviews as well that we need to actively have less consumption.
Yeah.
You're in the product industry, you're creating a product in a sense, but I think that this is quite interesting. How do you think that cake is actually helping making the switch in a sense, but still being a product?
It's about inspiring. This is what we can do. There's so many things which is happening at this point, or that in general, which is for different reasons. There are initiatives, there are tax incentives for this and that. There is regulations and lawmaking and so forth. What we're good at, and this is again how we commit or contribute to the general need for various things to happen, and that's potentially being able to, with an attractive experience or a product, to inspire towards a change in terms of what's my mean of future transportation going to be, for instance. Well, I could potentially think about leaving or selling my car and using a cake to get from home and work and back again. We want to inspire in that sense to the action of using a product that has a number of different I'd say facets of supporting aspiration for a user, including aspects of it's in the forefront, it's actually sustainable, it has excellent performance and so forth. So same thing as with POC. We did something that actually had the ambition of supporting with better protection, as well as making something that looked all right, putting it on and well made and well elaborated. So same thing here. Even though our product would look like simplistic at first view, if you look up the details of the product, it's not the single radius on our product, which is random. Everything is extremely deliberate. So I think that there's an art in serving the market with gems that can be appreciated. And that, again, comes with the ability of extending life cycles, not to capitalize on short-term trends and make it pink because that works this season. It's about making something that is a good representative of its time when it has been developed. So the physical quality together with the aesthetical quality actually preserves the aspiration for a certain product, and that supports the ability to use that product over and over and over and give it, I would say, a constant value.
So, because it was quite an interesting discussion we had in our neighborhood, because we've changed to hybrid, and our neighbor has a combustion engine. We had a really interesting discussion, and he said, and we were discussing who's more good to the climate. And we realized that we actually changed cars 3 times the past 5 years. They didn't change a car. So the discussion was here. I mean, we put 3 cars on the roads. He did not put any car on the road. He still has his. So is that what you mean with like long time?
I think that's a perfect evidence of the true reality that we're in. I mean, what we're trying to do is to substitute the transportation, the vessel being used for transportation. If we can populate urban transportation with 2-wheeled electric motorbikes instead of using a car for congestion aspects, for pollution aspects, for efficiency aspects, or whatever it might be, we're doing something good. And I have the same issue with right now. I'd say it's just as bad riding an electric motorbike as a combustion one, because there are other issues related to electric, which is lithium and cobalt and everything. So in that sense, I'd say that patience is crucial here. In 10 years, it's going to be amazing. So every new vehicle which is being sold in 10 years from now is going to be far better than the current combustion engine vehicle. And anyone who has something old, I'd say that it's potentially much smarter keeping it instead of buying new at times and therefore promoting the idea.
So waiting until we have the right thing.
Yes, I mean,
sometimes,
at times that's extremely relevant. At the same time, we need to get the bikes out there together with competitors of ours to actually influence the market by showing with physical evidence that is an opportunity. I might change driving my car and jumping on a bike to get to work.
The interesting thing here is that often these products that are longer viable and better in a sense, they're often also more expensive. And like to create the switch, we do believe that you need to come to like kind of a tipping point in a sense. I know that you have some ideas of what needs to be done. We were talking to Xshore a couple of weeks ago, and they have the same issue here, that they have a really good product, but it's pretty expensive in comparison to others. How do you think about that?
No, but I think that's the biggest challenge we have. I mean, we are in a system which that needs to change, because higher quality will always be more expensive. I mean, it doesn't matter how you can, to a certain aspect, you can discuss whether this or that is more or less expensive. But in the grand perspective, higher, quality making, durability, performance, choice of materials, and the quality of materials and their durability again will always, end up at the higher cost. So the challenge here is to lower the actual bar to get into the market by being able to use or possess, because use and possess are, could be, exist in together for different individuals, depending on what or companies, depending on what their way forward would be. So our take on that is to make sure that we have financial solutions for customers as well as for companies to make sure that we can support a smart, sustainable, and economically viable solution to own or to use these vehicles. And this is something that is being worked on a daily basis. I'd say that the biggest challenge here is actually the financing institutes and banks and so forth, because we have a system where we might need to ask for help from governments and the state eventually to support and lubricate the ability to actually use higher quality, which automatically, again, is what I'm saying. It's going to, the total buying cost is going to be higher.
Is that an uncomfortable conversation to have? Are we like disturbing a lot, or do you think it could be an easy switch?
I think it's going to be a very complicated switch, because I don't think that there is. I mean, there are tax incentives right now when it comes to solar power and a number of things. So maybe it's not too far-fetched. But when it comes to and I mean, we get sponsorship for buying an electric car today. It's whatever it is. So there are certain initiatives, and they're happening everywhere when it comes to electric vehicles. But I think it's not enough. It's how we actually make sure that there is a liquidity opportunity for everyone on a monthly basis to actually use higher quality products.
So if you didn't listen to this, backtrack, listen again, because this is a really, really important conversation to be had out there.
Yeah.
And it involves the governments, it involves the companies, the investment institutes.
Yes. And I think that we all have no matter what, and we all need to collaborate in this sense, no matter who we be in that kind of triangular situation, user, state, businesses, and also financial providers. So there are 4 of us.
Definitely. It's a collaboration again that needs to be
Yes.
had.
And now it's time for conscious questions.
What kind of guilty pleasures do you have? We were discussing what have you done for the climate, and you picked the guilty pleasure here, and I think it's quite interesting. Like, what is your guilty pleasure?
Well, I skied throughout my whole life. Skiing has been a big part of whatever I've done free time wise, and with my kids. The fact that we're actually without even questioning, going wherever we go, whether it's in the Alps or here in Sweden or elsewhere, spending quite a lot of time in ski lifts, everything being powered from electricity, and actually, using far more electricity than what you'd think. Just making snow is absolutely crazy. I'd say I'm surprised that this has not been a bigger discussion, in general, within the skiing community or within, the sustainability space and so forth. So that's one thing. I go skiing and I know it has its weak points.
Okay, good. I think that we can all sign up on the skiing part here. The guilty pleasure. Emil, Jakob, both of us. Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the next industry you're going to disrupt.
I think that the biggest effort we can contribute with being skiers is the fact that we actually ski real and fresh snow and start, ski touring rather than spending time in the ski lift.
So when I go off piste, I'm actually doing a good thing.
Yeah, better. If you walk up and ski down, I'd say that we'd be better off.
Okay. Well, the walk up I will practice on.
Yeah,
definitely.
me too.
I have to do that. Emil, take a picture next time you're walking up the hill. Okay, cool. I think that, trying to summarize all of this, I would like also to give you the chance to give some sunshine to someone.
Sunshine.
This is one of the topics that I knew that I was going to have to answer. But I would actually say I love the team spirit of any team, and working with a group of people at Cake, now, who are sharing the long-term perspectives, the target, taking the pain because it's painful. It's never about resting. And now we're through with this. Now it's an ongoing challenge dealing with problems. And I think that a committed bunch of people supporting sustainability, responsibility, respect. Whether they're engineers or marketeers or sales guys or whatever they are, it's a beauty. I mean, it's wonderful and honorable to be part of such a strong group of committed people. So,
Sunshine to the Cakers.
Sunshine on them.
I see that you're actually touched by talking about them. You're a close family, and I think that, as you said, for you, going with the passion close to the heart, it's important to have those kind of people.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Do you want to say something in the end to the people who are listening and watching?
I'd say let's not be sloppy. Let's understand, share the perspective on things that we need to do, and it's not a must. It's not a must. It's more an obligation, and it has to do with everyone's consciousness, I'd say. So let's move forward, and don't forget to have fun while doing it.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Sometimes you just need to give the honor to someone else. It's been an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And I think that we have inspired together all the people listening out there. So thank you very much, Stefan.
Thank you so much.
For today's episode. is not a single motorcycle company boardroom where cake has not been mentioned. And I estimate that there will be no room where cake is not mentioned, because I think that we are onto something where we're switching a lifestyle, where we're learning to transport ourselves in a completely different way that is less harmful to the environment. I think that this will happen because cake has the perspective of not doing something that is good enough, but to do something that is better than any competition. They also want to make sure that the products they make are viable for a long time. So they challenge our way of consumption to consume less and to make sure that we put less things on the road instead. That's only some of the things that we brought with us from this episode, but also the passionate perspective of the entrepreneur and making sure that you also see the humans behind the successes. Stefan mentioned his team, but I would like to mention him and the passion behind everything that he has created so far. Super exciting episode today, and I hope that you really enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to follow us on social media, DNB, Baseload, but also me personally. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, but also please help us, comment, write to us, ask us questions, because this is something we create for you, and we need your opinion and your thoughts. So I look forward talking to you in the chat. With that said, thank you very much for today. Have a safe week. Take care of yourself. And if you can, someone else as well. Have a good day, a week. See you later.